And what I was seeing around me were a lot of entrepreneurs like holding on tooth and nail, really like going further into debt. I mean, getting divorced, like letting all of these things kind of fall to the wayside because they really believed that that one idea, what if they could just ride it through, was going to like see them to the top. And I just didn't want to be one of those people.
Hey friends, hey, welcome back to the show. It's Nikayla here. And today in the guest chair, I have Keewa Nurullah, artist, entrepreneur, and small business strategist who you may remember as the founder of Kido, the beloved South Loop kids boutique that brought color, culture, and community to families across Chicago. After 6 powerful years in national recognition, including a shout out from President Barack Obama himself, Keewa made the bold decision to close her storefront and start over. But that's not where her story ends. In this episode, we talk about the evolution from retail founder to purpose-driven strategist. Keewa gets real about economic shifts, changing customer behavior, and why she walked away from a beloved business to build something even more impactful. Now, she's using her hard-won experience to coach entrepreneurs, host monthly circulate events that love bomb local shops with intentional support, and help others thrive on their terms. So let's get into it. Here's my conversation with Keewa. All right, Keewa, welcome back to the show. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Listen, this season, as you know, is all about the pivots and how we are all navigating the different seasons of entrepreneurship, the real deal Holyfield. So I thought, who better than you to come in to kick off with the first interview about this? So for those who haven't heard your first episode and aren't familiar with Kido, can you share a bit of your backstory of entrepreneurship?
Hey, everybody. I'm Keewa Nurullah, the founder of Kido, also founder of Circulate, which is my new passion project. I'm an entrepreneur from the South Side of Chicago. I'm a fourth generation entrepreneur. My great grandfather had a tailor shop on Black Wall Street. So I'm a descendant of the Greenwood District booming era. And I'm a former performing artist, traveled and performed on the stage all around the country and around the world. And after I had kids, I started Kido after seeing certain gaps in the marketplace for children. We started out online and then grew and had a storefront that was open from 2018 to 2024.
Let's talk about the pivot, right? You launched Kido. It grew into this vibrant, culturally inclusive kids boutique. The last time you were here, we talked about the events that you've done and just the way you brought community to Chicago and to, parents of color and just like who needed that, especially during those years, right? Mm-hmm. And then at that time, we also talked about how the timing was so awesome for your business because inclusivity at that time in the country, that was a value, right? That was.
Not the key word here being was.
The key word is was. We have to laugh to keep from crying, y'all. So what was that experience like for you? When did you start to notice the shift?
Oh man, it was really amazing. And I feel so fortunate to be one of the founders that really paid their dues, earned their way, however you want to call it, during that time. And I feel like the group of us who did scale during that time are still close and still ping back and forth and that type of thing. I mean, how did we live through it, right? We lived through the pandemic.
We're still living through it. Yeah.
We're still living through it, but everyone was at home and we had never experienced that before. So I felt fortunate because I started my business online first. Like I made sure from the get-go, we had a website that was working, that was, that we had our shipping stuff figured out. Yep. So when everyone was at home with kids, running through these toys, like, okay, I'm done. What's next? We really benefited from that specific situation. And so my scaling was really just like, oh, wait, okay, this is what you all need right now. And it was also what I needed because I was at home with the kids as well. And I really just used that as an opportunity for my trial and error and scaling not only the inventory, but, all the offerings and just the type of shipping and everything. And that's kind of where I earned my expertise, I guess, because I learned all of those hard lessons during that specific time, just from the sheer volume of people that were ordering, that I can't imagine at a different timing how that would have come and if it would have come in the same way,
Yeah, I know what you mean. And every experience counts. This is just a testament to how every single thing is going to be used later. It's like every ingredient somehow is going to fit into the recipe of your story and of your life. And you had to make the hard decision to close the brick and mortar store late 2024?
Yeah.
How did you decide it was time?
Woo! What's interesting is that, we talk about this
so fresh.
I know, it's still so fresh. Oh, my baby. We talk about following the timing and kind of following this recipe for success when times are good and when you're scaling and when you're getting this attention. But what I realized at the end of last year, and it was really coming off of 22 and 23, which a lot of the businesses, like I said, my kind of business homies out there around the country, we saw a shift not only in social media, but we saw a shift in supply chain. And then in 2024, post Gaza, we saw this shift just in customer spending behavior, period. And what I noticed in 2023, after October 7th, was that people were so paralyzed, especially people with children, were so paralyzed with this kind of guilt of what I have and what I should be doing with what I have, that I think that affected more things than we really acknowledge or can anticipate. Yeah. And so, I'm so nimble and I'm so malleable and I'm just pivoting along the way through entrepreneurship and trying to really meet my customer where they were. But by the end of 2024, I said, you know what, Keewa, like, if you benefit from taking advantage of timing and following the signs when things are going well, you have to be willing to accept the timing and pay attention to the signs when things are not going well. And what I was seeing around me were a lot of entrepreneurs like holding on tooth and nail, really with that feeling, you know what I mean? Like really holding on, like going further into debt. I mean, getting divorced, like letting all of these things kind of fall to the wayside because they really believe that one idea, if they could just ride it through, was going to see them to the top. And I just didn't want to be one of those people. I didn't want to risk or see what would happen if I just extended that lease a year and just really dug in my heels. Like, I just had that feeling. And so I felt like, Keewa, if you've had such good timing and been able to take advantage, like when things are riding up, you have to sit here and look at what's happening and accept that, so that your next chapter will be what it needs to be and you aren't, spiraling.
I am so impressed and proud of you. And that's why I want to have these messages and conversations, because people need to hear that, because there's so many conflicting messages. There's like, entrepreneurship is about sticking it out when it's hard.
Girl.
You know what I mean? And so you're like, no, this is a season. I just got to ride this out. But don't literally ride yourself into.
Right. Don't ride out to the sun, to the middle of the ocean.
Yes. But it's tough, right? When you get those two conflicting messages.
It really is tough.
What advice do you have for other entrepreneurs facing that same decision right now, when like everything is attached to it? Identity, right? The press they got, all the press you got, right? What advice do you have for them to make this decision themselves?
If you are looking at the numbers and you've seen your wave go down, if you don't have a plan that's so secure in how you're going to ride it back up that you aren't depending on customer ups and
A
downs.
miracle?
Yeah, a miracle.
If a flood of sudden cash is the plan.
Right. If you don't have a rich uncle who's on the way out and just has told you. But that's really the thing is like, if we're trying to build generational wealth, you can't go further and further into debt on this one idea. And for people out there who are religious or spiritual, you have to have faith in yourself. Yeah. Like any entrepreneur I know has had highest of the highs and lowest of the lows. And when you're in that lowest of the low, you still have to believe in yourself that if this does not work out, regardless of what you've tied your identity to, there's another shot, there's another chance. And sometimes the same thing does end up coming back around. But I feel like you can't tie your worth, your value, your future to one thing that isn't based on you. It's actually based on all those customers out there, especially, people who sell physical goods. You can't tie yourself to how they feel or what they're buying or that type of thing.
There's so many other factors, right? A lot of times that you feel the blame on yourself. And I speak for myself too. Like, I remember when Apple went through a shift with podcasts and they just slash your downloads. And I think there's a period of denial where you're like, oh no, you can't, no, it's going to turn back.
Yeah.
This can't be the new reality. Right.
Yeah.
But you tied your identity and worth to something, and you have to, like you said, believe in yourself, but also remember that if outside factors have something to do with facets of your business, then you can't tie your whole worth to this. Like, it's all depending on you because there are outside factors here. So kind of remove some of that guilt and shame and really look at what is influencing this. It's the economy. It's people's spending behaviors. I know for me, stuff just sits in my cart now, my online carts, where I used to press a button. Nowadays, there are weeks of me deciding whether I'm going to press that button.
And if you haven't, then that goes into it as well. Well, if I haven't needed it up until then and I haven't pressed it, then I probably don't need it. Like being really conscious of overspending. Yeah. But I want to talk about that denial piece because I feel like that's it's something that's connected to, I feel like, primarily social media, but also, when we talked about the identity piece and all of that stuff, because I do want to clarify in that if you have a successful business and you feel the wave going down, I don't think there's anything wrong with pulling out all the stops and seeing using all of your resources to figure out everything that you can do to have it survive or see if it can thrive again. Because last year, that's what that was about for me. Yeah. I had an inkling that the wave was riding a different direction, that customer spending had changed. But I used everything in me to, get a partnership with the Chicago White Sox, to get a partnership with the Museum of Contemporary Art. I wanted to see if I partnered with these larger organizations and widened our brand reach to these audiences that didn't even know about us, if that would affect things. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But what happened was when I used those resources to make those partnerships happen, and then all the people online who were, we love this, but then they didn't buy it. Yeah. And then it was like, I think that other entrepreneurs, I have this conversation all the time of how social media has twisted people's perception of how involved they really are. And I think that...
What do you mean by that?
What I mean is that during the pandemic, when businesses were closing and people were fighting for small shops, they were fighting online because we were all at home. And so were there all these memes that were going out there saying, if you can't buy something, like, share, or blah, 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 right? We still see them all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's not necessarily cutting out people who for real ain't got it. Like, this is for them. But there are a lot of people who were sharing those types of memes and even like establishing that belief where you actually got it and you actually spend it at these big box stores, and that actually isn't enough. You know what I mean? Like, bottom line, when it comes to the consumer education of supporting like community institutions and businesses in the community, there's nothing ever that will replace the dollar of you spending to support that. Especially when somebody has a brick and mortar. There's nothing that will go beyond you coming in the store or you spending online like your money. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I've had some of these companies that run like these entrepreneur kind of boot camps and programs reach out to me and, you know, for advice. And it's like, I'm always asking them, well, how much money are you giving them? Education, don't get me wrong, there's a place for that. I went to business school. There's a place for understanding accounting and projections and all of that. But where's the cold, hard cash? Stop with these education program. When they say resources, I always ask, does that resource mean money? Does that mean capital?
Let's clarify here.
That's what they need.
Let's get explicit.
I don't want to sit in a room and have anyone else talk to me, you know? Not
Especially not in these times. It's we are still at such a deficit. Like, we are still starting from, people are starting at the ground. We're starting so far below the ground in terms of what we have access to, what our collective knowledge is, that connection, like I said, between entrepreneur or business and consumer, and how it all works for us to be able to grow. That, we need that money. Like, the capital game is not, there's no ambivalence. Like,
and it's confusing. Social media has added a confusing layer. And I really think people like you, when you've gone through this experience, it's all useful because it's meant to make sure that the next entrepreneur goes in focusing on the right things, because it's confusing, right? On the one hand, you need social media to build awareness so that people even know you exist. Go online to your website, go into your shop when they're in the area. However, we also need that conversion to actually making a purchase. And we can't over-index on marketing and then not do the revenue generating actions. And I know you were doing it, right? And so what do you do when you do all that and you still hit a turn in your business? That too, you'll be able to help others with, because not everyone knows what to do in that circumstance. So the last thing I'll say before we shift, because this is not all going to be about the downturn, y'all. We can talk all day, but we're going to bring it back up. We're going to bring it back up, y'all. The last thing I'll say is, when you were talking about people supporting on social media and thinking they're doing something, it reminded me of that meme when people are like, you're in my prayers. That was the prayer right there. Like, that was the first and last time. That's it. You're in my prayers. That is the prayer.
It's so deceiving. And I think
crazy.
Before we shift, I have to acknowledge that one of the regular conversations that I have with some of my more successful entrepreneur peers is that we're walking this fine line, right? And the fine line is brand trust. So in 2023 and 2024, a lot of us were going through it, and a lot of us were down from where we were when we scaled. But especially as Black-owned businesses, it's almost like you choose one team or the other. Either you're the type of person, when you need help, you're going to blast it to the internet and you're going to start your GoFundMe and you're going to ask for the monetary resources you need from your community.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, me and a lot of other people had created brands that were bright and shiny and pretty on the outside, and that just didn't go along with our brand and maybe didn't connect with us, you know, as people. We really wanted our businesses to stand on their own, for you not to have to hear an emotional plea to support, because we knew we had a good brand, we knew we had good products, and that had been proven before.
Yeah.
And so, unfortunately, it's a gift and a curse because when you do all this marketing and when you run your business in a way where people feel so confident, like, oh, look at them, they're succeeding, they're good, they also think that they don't need to support in order for you to survive.
Yeah.
And so I've had these conversations of how do we let our community know, like, you need to spend, you need to buy, you need to be present without feeling like we're begging or without having people feel like if they don't do it, we're going to close next week. Because in the retail psychology, if people feel like you can't stand on your own, they don't really continue to support you in the same way as if
Right.
so it's this tricky
Oh,
situation where you're trying
so
to
much
show
psychology.
everybody, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so I just want to, if anybody's going
And
through
also
that
they
right
start to pick it
now,
apart like, well, maybe you shouldn't have been doing this. Right? Then there's a whole other layer
that's
like,
the worst.
let me
I
become your
know
business
that.
coach.
And the peanut gallery starts and it's like, well, if it were me, she should have done this. And I'm like, you don't want to even open yourself up to that. So it's like, come on, y'all.
Yeah.
Support the thing that you love so that we
Right.
all can, continue to thrive and all that stuff. But
Yeah. So as you were starting to wind down the store, how did you approach what's next?
oh, that's a good question. To be completely transparent, I didn't really have a concrete plan when I closed the store. I just knew it was time.
Yeah.
And honestly, because I had a physical storefront, I made my closing announcement like 2 months before we closed because it was the holiday season anyway. And I just wanted people to know, like, this is your last opportunity.
Yeah.
But as people were coming in the store, I had 2 months full of people's emotions, feelings, advice,
Yeah.
everything. I was injecting all kind of people would come in the store crying. People would come in the store saying, no, 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 we're not accepting this. This is who you need to call. I mean, you know what I mean? From one
Right.
extreme to the other extreme. And I have a store with kids. So kids were coming in. Oh, Miss Keewa, we don't want kiddo. I had 2 months. I had underestimated
Yeah.
how much people cared about what I had built. And those last 2 months were so, at the same time, filling and draining of
Oh,
just me having to meet other, them coming through the doors and their emotion and how they felt on top of what I was already feeling. That by the time we closed at the end of the year, I was just like, I, I was just, that was it. Like
exhausted. Yeah.
I was exhausted. I was drained. I was just in disbelief that, this era was over or this form of it. And so the next few months for me were just getting back to some kind of equilibrium of like, okay, Keewa, you got to get used to this not being your routine every day and this not
Yeah.
being here physically, but this is not it. You just have to recover, just like an illness or anything else. You have to recover your mental health, your physical health. And then once you get to that state, figure out what's next. But I didn't have a plan in advance. Well, no, well, that's partially true. I had an idea, but I knew I had to wait until the person who's president right now got into office. And once he got into office, that was scrapped with the tariffs and everything. So I had an inkling of like, well, I could. And then come January, it was like, okay, let me just reset all the way and then see what's next.
Recalculate. I
Yeah.
saw on your website that you had a testimonial from forever President Barack Obama, and you did some kind of
Come
like
back.
merch collaboration. So was that during the Kido phase, or was that kind of a branch afterwards of like something that you could do, create customized merchandise? Is that what that was?
Yeah. So, having kiddo, I realized that just selling products in the store online wasn't going to be enough. Everybody knows about you got to have, multiple streams of revenue.
Yes.
And so one of those streams, especially around the holidays for us, was providing toys for people who did their toy drives and all that kind of thing. So we connected with the Obama Foundation initially because they wanted to do this big toy giveaway for the school. And so we were honored to, provide these toys for a surprise toy moment that he gifted all of these toys to a school on the South Side, and then kind of nurtured that relationship and was able to create some merch, not only for them, but for other nonprofits and other organizations using my design skills and kind of mission forward connection with merchandise to create that as an additional stream of revenue.
I love that. And I mean, what a flex seeing that on your website. Like, hey, you could go anywhere from here, girl. Anywhere you want to. So where did you go next? Now you have a new mission. I mean, you've always had this mission, but even more now you're focusing on helping other small businesses thrive. What does that look like in practice and in business?
Once the election happened and the tariffs started, and I realized that the product-based pivot that I had in mind was not going to work, and coming up with something else for myself, I kept hitting these roadblocks of having ideas that just didn't feel like it connected to the timing of right now, or didn't feel like it was something I needed to put all my energy into. And so I just kind of laid it all, like just got real granular and basic with it, which was that, my shop closed. And my shop, especially looking from the outside in, was successful and had partnerships and PR and marketing and all of these things that a lot of small businesses don't have access to or don't have the resources for. And so I was just like, man, like my shop closed, but like, I don't want that to happen to other people. What can I do? And so I started something called Circulate, which is like a monthly rent party for a small shop, a retail storefront. And we hit them up on the last Sunday of the month. I get my network to support and introduce them to these other businesses all around the city. And we give them a boost before before rent is due and utilities are due and payroll and all that other stuff. And really just giving them, using the following that I've built and not just holding on to it myself and being selfish, but being like, hey, who else is out there who's been doing this as well? Like, let me give you some of my customers and community and people who intentionally shop small. And so that's what I've been doing, and that's growing. We've got a big holiday market coming up, and I have ideas about how that can scale in a good way as opposed to a thirsty way. but yeah.
What do you mean by a thirsty way?
You know what, Nikayla? I think this is a good point because the word scale doesn't connect to everyone, right? And every entrepreneur doesn't even want to scale. And one person who you've had on your show, who I've had what she said in my mind so many times, is Angel Gregorio from Spice Suite.
Yes.
She is someone who has stood on business being like, this ain't for everybody. Like, I got my shop and that's all I need. And her growth has come in these different ways that are about supporting her community. And I really wish that more people knew that you can grow in business, you can make more money without having to even go into big retail, without having to franchise in different cities. You can have a lifestyle that you want and grow your business without stretching yourself in a way that, for me, culturally, isn't even really what we do. You know what I mean? Like,
so right about that. I love Angel. I was literally just looking at her post the other day. I think on TikTok, she was talking about, listen, I think it's Saturday or Sunday, she has the farmer's market with all these different Black-owned businesses.
Beautiful.
So beautiful. Like, it's manageable, yet, it is business focused, business forward, but it's not something where you are stretching yourself to honestly meet someone else's dream and someone else's definition of what success looks like.
And that's the thing. I think that
you deciding what you want.
Exactly. And I think what her model shows is really, and what I've tried to do as well, is like, I don't want to scale to the point where I'm not even present in my business or in my community. Like, if me scaling means that I'm far removed and I'm some figure who's not, like, elusive, and that isn't that's not Black to me. Like
Right.
we're on the ground. You know what I mean? Like we're on the
Yeah,
ground.
yeah.
We're about community. We're about the group, the collective. And so if
Mm-hmm.
scaling gets me so burnt out and stressed out and isolated and dealing with all these other people that that's not even my target demographic,
Yeah.
then that's not success for me. For somebody else it is.
Yeah.
But I feel like we need to widen the range that we talk about how you can scale and how you can be successful, because it can look a lot of different ways.
Oh, I'm so glad you raised that point, because initially when I started out this podcast, I was so determined to show other sides, other ways to be an entrepreneur. And I feel like there's so much pressure to just show businesses that get VC funding. And I was not impressed by that. I was not impressed by that route and that focus, because I always saw it for what it is, like people think it's free money, and it's like, that looks stressful. And yeah, if you want to do that, and you want to build something that changed the whole world, fine. But if you're just doing it because you're following what's popular and what's seen as cool, that's not the reason to go down that path.
And there's so many industries, and entrepreneurship is one of them, where you can get yourself in a situation where you became an entrepreneur to be free, and all you're doing is going into a situation where you're not free at all, where you are the
No.
beck and call of somebody else who doesn't even share your values and doesn't care about your community at all. They just care about the flip, that 10 times flip of their money. And
Yep.
alignment is so crucial. And very often there's not much alignment with the people who have a whole lot of money and the people who don't. You know what I mean? Like sometimes the alignment
You
just
have to
isn't
be so
there.
careful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So now that you've started Circulate, what have you seen? What have you noticed? And what's been making the most impact?
What I've seen is a few things. I've seen it affect the businesses. They're getting new customers, sometimes customers right from their neighborhood who didn't even know they were there.
Oh.
So they're getting access to new customers. They're getting a boost. So their revenue is tripling or quadrupling, what they usually do on that day or that month or week. And then also on the consumer side, I see something clicking in people, which has been going on this whole year, which is that these big companies who you really depend on for some, services or things you buy, are putting their money where their mouth is, and it's not for us. And so once people started giving into his campaign, and once people started, companies started investing in other companies that are maybe supporting war efforts that people don't agree with, there's this real reckoning of, in spending my money, what am I saying?
Yes.
With that.
Yes.
Because if I know, once you know, you can't go back. And so if
you can't unsee.
You can't unsee. And so if I know that they're doing this and I'm giving my dollar to them, what does that say about me and my values? And so what I'm trying to do is, on a micro level, tell people, even if you can't control that, the big box situation, you can spend your money right here, because almost 70% of the money from a small business goes right back into the community. So that's it right there. If you can spend your money with small business, then they're going to nurture us, and they're going to nurture your neighborhood right here that you can see.
And you know where it's going. And
you know where it's going. You know they're going to hire the young kid from around the block. You know that they're going to support all of these other small businesses, so your neighborhood can look vibrant and fresh and appealing. And so I see that clicking more and more for the people who are supporting this initiative, and that, okay, let me put my money where my mouth is, because now is the time.
And you are also now coaching other entrepreneurs. So how has your experience in building Kido prepared you for coaching others?
Oh man, I just had a conversation yesterday, actually, where I was talking about how I never really had like a mentor while I was building Kido. And I often felt isolated, because as a mother, I didn't have the time that other people had to network and to be going to these events in the evenings. And you know what I mean? Like, and so
I
a
get
lot of,
stressed when I get an invite.
oh, like childcare,
Oh my God.
I just didn't have it. I wasn't traveling to conferences every month to get to know people in my industry. And I really felt that in my journey. And so now having the opportunity to share what I've learned and share my expertise with people who are in the weeds and going through it and don't have the, shiny things that I had is really fulfilling, and this person was reminding me, how you say, in order to have a friend, you have to be a friend. And so I feel that in order to when I start that next venture and I need a mentor, and now that I've served that role, I think that it will open up to me because I just feel like I have that kind of secular energy happening in my life.
Right.
But being able to play this role and help businesses who need it has been so fulfilling. And
yes.
yeah, I'm into it. I'm into it more than I thought I would be, actually.
Okay, speaking of being a mom, I got laundry service pickup coming upstairs.
Come on now.
That's real life, fella.
Come on, tools.
Come on, tools. Come on, resourcing myself.
Listen.
Come on, juggle. This is the real life. And did you start a podcast called The Juggle? Was that the name of the podcast or just an episode?
Every month I feel like I need to start it back up because I did. And I had some great guests, but as you know, the logistics and all the pieces that go into it being the standard that you want it to be are difficult to coordinate with everything else with motherhood and business. So I really applaud you and what you've built because it takes a lot of moving pieces to schedule people and to get, to really sit down.
And you want to show up and be present for people in a peaceful mind, because you deserve that. So this is actually my first interview in months because I'm getting myself together.
Come on, round of applause.
Schedule. I got it right.
Come on.
It was just fitting. Because in this season, like I meant it when I said, I only want to talk to people who I genuinely want to learn from and just hear how they're doing it. Because I think we're all navigating and it's time, like you said, to talk about it. I am one of those people too, who I prefer to go through the things. I don't prefer to burden anybody with like,
exactly.
Here's what I'm going through, blah, blah, blah. But now I'm ready to, let's all talk about this. Because we're going to get through this,
But I appreciate your transparency because, when I had Kido was open 7 days a week. And so not only am I dealing with the staffing of that, because as a parent, like I can't be there 7 days a week.
Yeah.
But when you have children and your child is having health issues or your child is having mental health issues or you're having either or, that's real. And business does not come first. That comes first. And so there were many seasons when I had Kido where I felt like I couldn't be on social media doing the dance for everybody, where I felt like I couldn't even come into the shop because of things that, real things that we deal with in our families that deserve the focus and the attention that we got to give them. And so I'm sure there are mothers who are going to listen to this episode. And I appreciate you keeping it real because even if you see the machine always moving online and you see what we're able to schedule and produce and continue going, it doesn't always reflect what's happening in the moment, which is like you have these real challenges that need attention with our families. And we gotta, bob and weave and ebb and flow and be the mothers and the wives and all that we have to be.
I feel like I always have 2 to-do lists, if not 3 running in my head. It's like mine, my sons, my daughters. It's just like and today, I wake up and I've started downloading it, which is a tip I've got from another person who deals with like burnout coaching, right? And it's just like, as soon as I have something in my head, I've started writing it on the fridge, like with a dry erase marker, not even on, we do have a board, but that's like the grocery list. Like I literally just write my family to-do list on the fridge. Like, get the laundry ready for pickup, this, right? Okay. So that I don't think about it. Like I don't have to worry about forgetting it because it's on the fridge. And then I have, of course, my job so I can go into the office and focus on this. And then the to-do list is waiting for me. But that is how it's done. That we are literally managing so much.
Yeah, it's a 360 job. So whatever any mother has to do to make it work for her and her family and her system is like, that's what's got to happen.
So looking back on your journey right now, so far, because I believe that life is wide in addition to long, right? Looking back on it now, what do you think success is going to mean to you in this new chapter?
So my first chapter was on the stage. I'm a performing artist and I got my degree in musical theater and I traveled the country and the world doing that. And since motherhood, I started another chapter, being a mother and being an entrepreneur. But what I'm really hoping in the next chapter, now that I've settled into motherhood, is to be able to combine the two in some kind of way. My artist self, my writing, my expressive self creatively, with business and with the things that I've learned since I started Kido and started consulting and all that stuff. I really do feel like, if there are any other Renaissance women out there who are full of ideas and full of things that they want to do, you really can do it all, but it just might not be at the same time. And so I hope that in the next chapters that I have, that I'm able to acknowledge all those parts of myself and sometimes combine them, sometimes, give them the sole focus. But I want to show my children that I don't have to alienate any parts of myself to live, and that we have the whole life to make it happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So two things that have been helping me too, and epiphanies I've had. One is just remembering to give myself props. Like, you built a brick and mortar,
listen,
like never before toy concepts.
That's why I have to put that Obama props. That's why I have to put that Obama testimonial on the site. I'm like, this happened. It's a big deal.
This happened.
I feel like my brother was always reminding me of that along the journey, and I never gave. I always was moving so fast and forward to the next thing that I never really let myself sit in the things that I had accomplished. And so now that I'm past that part of my journey, I'm sitting back reflecting on it all, just like, man, like I did that. Right. Like I did that with no guide, with no, person feeding me anything, with no rich husband making sure that I was like, I did that. Well, and it's really powerful to sit, in what you've accomplished like that. Just like you. I was looking on past episodes, like, you've had everybody on here. And so, listen, Nicaila, I'm going to give you your props because all the people that you've had on here and all the wisdom that you've been able to ingest by being the facilitator of that, you've gained all those gems yourself as well, and those don't go away. So I'm giving you your flowers right now, because there's something in you and your personality and your openness that really has made people feel comfortable and allowed them to share on this platform the way that they have. So we thank you, girl.
Thank you. And as you being the performing artist, it reminds me of how artists are on this hamster wheel to create the next album, right? Like the studio expects that from them. So it's like Michael Jackson not stopping to appreciate Thriller because he's like, I need my next big hit. But it's like, that's a body of art.
Exactly.
Like,
sit in it.
Right? So we're gonna jump into the lightning round. Oh, and the last thing I've learned is also to not beat myself up for things I've never done before. Like literally, you've never built that kind of business before. Why are you beating yourself up for not knowing how to run that kind of business?
Right.
So that's an important piece of this in the pivot season, y'all. All right. So now we're going to jump into a lightning round again to see what's going on with you now. All right. Number one, what is a resource that is helping you in your business, this business chapter right now that you can share with the Side Hustle Pro audience?
I hate to be cheesy, but I'm going to say LinkedIn. I think that a lot of like people in the corporate space and traditional workspace use it in a certain way, but I feel like entrepreneurs kind of underestimate the ways that they can use it. And I've had a lot of success blindly reaching out through DMs. That's how I got my White Sox partnership, really looking at the companies and the roles to see, is there some synergy here? Are there some mutual friends? Is there something, a way that we can connect and then take it offline and develop the relationship? And so I would encourage other entrepreneurs to get on there and make it less about the broadcast of what I'm up to, but check out how you can connect your business to larger ones or to the right people who could, further what you're trying to do.
Ooh, yes. Thank you for that reminder. Number two, what has been the best business book, podcast episode, movie, anything that you've consumed this year that's really fueled your creative juices?
I was late to the game, but I have to jump on the bandwagon with the Atomic Habits.
Oh, okay.
I now that I had time and I wasn't going to the shop every day and having that be my routine, I found myself kind of with this open schedule that I'm like, how do I fill this to be my most productive, holistic self? And that gave me a good framework for stacking habits and kind of connecting new habits to old ones. And so, yeah, I feel like I was late to the game on that. And he also has a weekly newsletter that you can subscribe to that has some gems in it as well.
Maybe that'll be better for me because you're not late to the game because I still have not been able to get through the book. I keep starting it.
I had to listen.
To read.
Listen. I realized this year that there are certain books that I read and then there are certain books that I listen to. And so that was one I had to listen to. I couldn't get into it with the physical book, but sometimes it's the reverse, know.
And now, speaking of all the interviews, now who is a Black woman entrepreneur that you'd want to just trade places with for a day just to soak up what she's doing?
I was ready for this one because it's always going to be always and forever Tracee Ellis Ross. Let me trade with her life for a day because it's more than the business, right? She joined the entrepreneur team with Pattern, but it's for all the other stuff as well. She just looks like she has such a lifestyle that's true to herself and her style and intention. And
she is a movement.
She is a movement. And there's a reason, there's a reason why so many people connect to her. But I feel like Pattern, it really is a reflection of how she intentionally wanted to build a business. And so, I would love to have a day with her for sure, or switch places.
Me too. Now, what is a personal trait about you? Has this shifted at all? What is a personal trait that has helped you significantly in business?
Oh man, I think it's a two-parter. One is that I generally am a people person. I get my energy from, I'm people curious. I want to talk to you. I want to know about your journey. And that has created a more authentic entrepreneur customer relationship because it really is coming from a genuine place of, I see you. Who are you? I'm glad you're here, that type of thing. But also in my first chapter as a performing artist and auditioning, I was hit with so much rejection early from that former career path that by the time I became an entrepreneur, I wasn't scared of no at all because I had heard it thousands of times. And so I feel like I've always had a leg up in that way, and that this isn't a reflection of me. I'm good. My value is good, but do you want this? Can we do this? Can I pitch this? And the no is not as destructive for me as it might be for someone else.
Oh, I'm still working on that. I love that you have that trait. That is such a good trait. Okay. So finally, now, with what you do at Circulate, you focus on love bombing other local businesses. Now, let's leave off with a love bomb where you share your parting advice for fellow women entrepreneurs who are navigating a pivot right now. Okay. What advice would you give to them?
Follow your gut, follow your instinct. There are a lot of Black women who have lost their job or may lose their job in the next few months. And if you've been sitting on an idea, if it's been tugging at you, follow that instinct because now is the time. On the converse, if you have a job, because there are so many who don't, and your business is doing okay, but it's not at the level yet where you're going to switch over, keep your job. Keep your job.
And
stack, because the health insurance and all the things that go with having that job are going to come in handy on your journey. Mm-hmm. And you don't want to switch over from the side hustle to the full-time hustle until you're overloaded, until you don't have the time, until you don't have that's
for sure.
Yeah, that's when you want to switch over. But if you're just doing it on the side and you've got the job and it's not overwhelming you yet to juggle the two, keep that job. Okay. So I hate that I straddled the line, but it's the times that we're living in.
We did a little bit of hedging, but that's the times. Times have shifted. So for now, that's what we're doing. That's the strategy. So with that, Keewa, thank you so much. I am so grateful for you, who you are, and for coming back to share your gems with us. And where can people connect with you after this episode?
You can find me at KeewaNurullah.com. Also, Circulate Chicago, and Kiwi Mercury is my personal Instagram. Follow along on the journey and connect with me if you're an entrepreneur who's struggling or needs some guidance for my consulting services.
Thank you. Take care. Hey guys, thanks for listening to Side Hustle Pro. If you like the show, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review on Apple Podcasts. It helps other side hustlers just like you to find the show. And if you want to hear more from me, you can follow me on Instagram at Side Hustle Pro. Plus, sign up for my 6-bullet Saturday newsletter at sidehustlepro.co/newsletter. When you sign up, you'll receive weekly nuggets from me, including what I'm up to, personal lessons, and my business tip of the week. Again, that's sidehustlepro.co/newsletter to sign up. Talk to you soon.